Hello everyone, I'm Kevin Pilon. I want to thank you for watching this episode of the Kevin Pilon Show on YouTube, as well as listening to the show on ice.radio today. I want to talk to you about a brand new idea that I just came up with. Many of you are familiar with a late night show I did a few days ago. If you haven't listened to ice.radio already, the name of the show that starts at midnight in Abilene, Texas is called the ice.radio Late Night with the Kevin Pilon Show. And basically what that is a show where, for those of you who haven't had a chance to turn on the radio yet due to your job or whatever the case might be, or in Dustin Tatro's case, since he's on the air from 9 p.m. to midnight, my late night show will start at midnight in Abilene, Texas, and will end at 2 a.m., which means in New York, it starts at 1 a.m. and ends at 3. So basically, it's a late night show that people can listen to and anywhere they go. And because it's not a time shift service, more than likely, you'll be able to listen to me at 10 in California and 11 in Colorado, to be more specific. However, the times mentioned may vary, so please make sure you turn on iStart if you want to listen in. And if you're not sure what time it is when you listen to my shows, please call me on Skype, and I will be able to help you out. The Skype account is kpilon86. That's my Skype account. For those of you who listen on ice.radio and watch the show on YouTube, sometimes the time may be different because in some states you don't have to set your clocks back or forward an hour, and that's what this issue is about. Because my goal is to make sure that my shows air at the time that you're comfortable with. But other than that, my late night show will even have an encore presentation for those who might not have had a chance to listen yet. So I'm going to try to work on that as well. Even if I'm not technically on the air, you'll still be able to listen, and that's great. Now, let's get back to the news side of things, shall we? A 30-year-old man was evicted from his parents' house by a judge because he has refused to leave several times. But it has been noted that he's going to appeal the decision, which should remind you that my parents never kicked me out. I moved to my apartment at my own free will because I chose to do that because I wanted to get out of their house. And we all must keep in mind that our parents may not be there forever. So spend time with them, but at the same time, get a place of your own when you can. But I never thought that I would hear about a man being evicted from his parents' house by a judge. I never thought that at all. Now, many of you have heard about the Baskin-Robbins / Dunkin' Donuts, where the Taco Bell used to be on South 14th across from H-E-B. I saw some pictures posted on the KG&Z at Night with Dustin Tatro's Facebook page, and I have to tell you, the menu is impressive. And on Thursday's show, I'm going to do a show about that and give you my opinion on some of the foods that they have, and if there's any desserts, I want to make sure you guys know about that as well, so you can try it for yourself. If you live in the Abilene, Texas area, please stop by the brand new Dunkin' Donuts on South 14th. It's going to be amazing. Now, if you watch KTAB News, you may have noticed that Bob Bartlett hasn't been on for quite some time. Well, that's because he had a heart attack. But he is doing very well, and he posted a video message. For those of you who haven't had a chance to see that, you'll find that on my The Kevin Pilon Show Facebook page as well. And, you know, Bob Bartlett has been known to say, we'll be back on with the news that hasn't happened yet. That term means that he wants to learn more about the news before he goes on air. You know, it's his way of saying thank you for tuning in, basically. Each reporter has their sign-off thing that they do, and if you've watched Anchorman with Will Ferrell, you've heard the term, stay classy San Diego. That's a sign-off term. And it's worth keeping in mind when you turn on the news every day. And speaking of news, news is who I am. Not only as a person, but news talk is a specialty that I have thought about since 2011. That's when I first started doing my show. And since then, times have changed. Some episodes have been removed due to not only copyright considerations, but also due to other issues that have taken place within the last several years. There was one incident where I did a show at the Alfonso Hernandez Bakery, and I filmed a gentleman who owned the restaurant, and he played the guitar. An inappropriate comment was posted on my YouTube page. 2 days later, I found out that actually he didn't want to be on my show, but he didn't know how to go about telling me that yet because he felt that I might take offense to that. And, you know, he was concerned at the time that if he were to tell me, hey man, don't ever do that again, that it might cause an argument. But in reality, he was a really great guy, and I got to know him for a while. And the issue wasn't so much he didn't want me filming his show. He was just concerned that the people weren't as interested as he thought. Because the people who liked his music would much rather go inside his restaurant and to hear him play than to hear him on the radio for some reason. Now, this was before my shows actually started airing on iStart Radio. So when I thought about music from the people who play music, I learned that Shawn Hardesty has a specialty for music, and that's why he created iStart Radio. Before I started doing the Kevin Pilon Show anyway, when he created iStart Radio, he wanted people to have something to listen to that they actually enjoyed without ever having to change the radio station. But what a lot of people don't always know is that nothing new airs unless a DJ goes on. The auto DJ pretty much gives people something to listen to in between the DJs who go on air. Because one person may sign off, but another has not yet signed on yet. And so what they do as a team is they switch off from one to another. And so what we do is we communicate with each other on whether or not one of us will go on the air or not, because we like being able to listen to each other on the same channel. Because when we do that, it gives us something to enjoy doing when it comes to internet radio. And it's not just that. It's the fans who enjoy listening to iStart Radio. KGNZ, on the other hand, is what inspired me to want to become a DJ on iStart Radio to start with. Many of you are familiar with the time that I met Dustin Tatro in person. And that day meant a lot to me, as well as him and Shawn Hardesty. So when Shawn brought me over to KGNZ for the first time, he actually had a good reason for that at the time. And after the show, Shawn Hardesty pointed out that he wanted me to be a sideline reporter for KGNZ. So when Shawn told me that he wanted me to give it a shot this year alone, he wanted me to do that on a trial basis to see if I liked it or not. And if I did, I'll continue to volunteer, and if not, well, I'll figure something out later. But KGNZ is a part of who I am and has been for some time. But for those of you who did not know how Dustin Tatro got on KGNZ, I'll put this into perspective. Ron Rousseau was the one who told Dustin he should check out KGNZ. It's a Christian radio station. In fact, Dustin mentioned that on the first episode of my show in 2018, and it was a Facebook exclusive. And that was a part of what allowed Dustin to be able to have fans on the radio. So when Dustin mentioned on my show that he was in another market in West Texas, he was telling the truth. Because that was how Ron found out that he used to be in radio. It was research that told Ron, hey, let's get Dustin on KGNZ. You know? So Dustin Tatro basically starts out at K-Tab in Abilene after having been in radio for some time in another market in West Texas. And then, after all that time he spends at K-Tab, he gets sent over to KGNZ for a late-night rock show. Who would have known that I would hear about Dustin Tatro being on KGNZ after Shawn Hardesty's father passed away due to pancreatic cancer in 2017, because that was the year that I found out about his death. And it was the first time that I found out that Shawn Hardesty was on the radio with Dustin Tatro over at KGNZ. Several months later, Shawn takes me there. On the first day of 2018 alone, Shawn says, hey, would you like to come hang out with me and Dustin Tatro over at KGNZ? And I thought, yeah, I'll go. And, you know, it was just, as Shawn Hardesty pointed out to me, one thing leads to another. And he's right. One thing led to another. News is a part of who I am, and that's why Shawn Hardesty came up with the idea that I should be a sideline reporter for KGNZ. Because Shawn felt that I earned Dustin's trust even before I met him. The basic side of it was that while the Kevin Pilon Show was specifically for YouTube fans as well as Iced Out Radio fans and SoundCloud fans, which, by the way, I haven't been on SoundCloud in a while, the fact remains. The fact remains that I earned Dustin's trust before I met him. And it wasn't just the news music packages from Steve and Earl. No, that wasn't the main reason. The main reason was because of news. But when I asked Dustin, when Shawn first told you about me, what did you first think? He says, I didn't hear about you from Shawn Hardesty. I heard about you over at K-Tab. Because that's where I was when I heard about you in the first place. Because he kept hearing my name come up time and time again when he was at K-Tab. And as far as news music packages are concerned, one day I was watching YouTube videos, and I came across a video from KEYC, and they had like a 60-second music video, if you will, if not a 30-second. They have like both versions. And they had This Is the Place. And one day, out of the blue clear sky, I posted the link to the YouTube channel from KEYC that showed the video. So when I copied and pasted the video from KEYC, I said to the fans, attention fans, this is the place. And if you want to hear the whole song, head here, right? Out of the blue, clear sky, I get a message from Dustin Tatro himself. And this was before I even knew he was at KG&Z. And he said I had good ears. And on top of that, he shows me a link to a website known as Stephen Arnold Music. I visited that link and learned that they had like several packages, if you will. And Dustin mentioned that KTAB at one point used Counterpoint. They switched since then, and that was the truth. They switched. KRBC still used the term "this is the place," but then I don't know what they did with the music, but more than likely they're still using the "this is the place" anyway. And K-Texas is using the signature package. However, and Dustin's right about this, and so am I, news music packages are used in more than one station in some parts of the country. They're used at lots of stations. And it's not just Stephen Arnold. In fact, CBS has their own theme music as well. And it's created by the people at Warner and Robbins Company. They're the people that came up with the CBS Enforcer, not Stephen Arnold. And there are many composers as well that you might not have known about. When I was a kid, I came across an NBC station on Channel 9 in Colorado, and they had the best theme song, if you will. And when we come back, I'll tell you more about that after this. And welcome back to the show. Now, the people at KUSA had actually used a music package from a company called Third Street Music several years ago when I was a kid. It was in the late 90s, starting from mid-1995 and so on. I was in Colorado in 1997. And they had the kind of theme song that I just could not go a whole day without listening to it. Whether I watched television or not, I still listened to it. I couldn't quit for a while. It was the only thing I could listen to for a while anyway. And the music was so amazing, I just couldn't go a whole day without listening to it. And this was while I was 11 years old. You know, it made 11 exciting, but not nearly as exciting as I thought it was going to be, because Colorado wasn't the place for me anyway. When we went to Virginia, we traveled several states prior to that, and guess what? I heard the same thing in different states. I even heard one from Denver to Kansas, and they used the same theme song. Come on. I thought at the time that each station was assigned a certain theme and they had to use it. I was wrong. The same theme could be used in multiple stations. It's not about what station the call sign is. That's not the issue. Or should I say, that's not what it's about. It is rather about the principle. And the principle is that while TV networks such as ABC, NBC, and CBS have the news themes that are exactly the same, like when you turn on NBC Nightly News, for instance, or if you turn on CBS Evening News, or the ABC World News Tonight with David Muir, the fact remains that the music may be the same on those big three networks, but when you turn on the local news, the music is slightly different. It's not going to stay the same everywhere you go. They may change it up time to time again, like KTAB did, as Dustin pointed out. They switched from Counterpoint to a different package at one point, but it's still the same person. So when you hear the same theme song from one state to another, you might want to take into account, or take into consideration rather, that the same people created it for the multiple stations. They didn't create it for one station, they created it for multiple stations. And when we come back, Shawn Hardesty joins me as a guest to talk about the man who killed himself while vaping. Stay with us. Welcome back to the show. Now my guest is Shawn Hardesty. Now let's talk about that guy who killed himself while vaping. Like, what was this guy thinking?
This guy was thinking weird because upon firing up his e-cigarette, which is, this is going to be an e-cigarette. Well, it is an e-cigarette, shall I say. But upon firing it up, he should have checked battery safety. He should have checked if anything was faulty with the e-cigarette device instead of just popping it in his mouth and just firing it up. You don't do that because that's another way it's going to be blown up. Most people, like the way I was told, most people think it's an unhealthy alternative. Well, compared to the cigarettes, which I'm about to show you, if I can find them, 4,000 carcinogens in this. Can you name the 4,000 ingredients that are in this compared to this? No. No one can. What's in this is vegetable glycerin, propylene glycerin, or propylene glycol, which is what I like to say. But vegetable glycerin is one of the main ingredients. But if you listen closely, vegetable glycerin comes from vegetables.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the nicotine additive that they have comes from potatoes and everything else. So, if you think glycerin's bad for you, think you're eating it every day on your pizza. You're eating it every day on your eggs. You're eating glycerin no matter what. You're feeding it to your dogs.
Yeah.
So if it was unhealthy, it would have killed your dogs a long time ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this, we're ingesting glycerin every day.
Yeah.
Even if it's in pizza, macaroni and cheese, whatever, it has glycerin. The additive, the flavor additive, that's just give it flavor. It's not harmful or anything like that. All this is natural ingredients, so why would they say it's unsafe for you when you gotta know Ohm's law? Like, there's several different things. You gotta know Ohm's law. You gotta know about battery safety. Like, if I just pop this on my mod and go, crank it up to 100 watts, and I don't know what ohms I'm at, I'm bound to blow myself up. Same thing happened to the guy. If he had a faulty mod or batteries that are no longer good, he's going to blow himself up.
Yeah.
And that's my opinion on that.
Yeah. And the batteries, they can explode at any time, regardless of whether it's...
Even if it's a cell phone.
Yeah.
Like...
I have heard of cell phones that have blown up before, literally.
Yeah, so have I. I've heard of an iPhone blowing up in somebody's pocket. So, you just got to be careful of battery safety. It's all about battery safety and Ohm's law.
Change your batteries ever so often.
Your batteries, get new batteries every so often. Like, these batteries I'm running here, if you take a good glimpse at them, those are 18650 batteries right there.
18650.
Yeah. If anything's wrong with them, you want to inspect them before you put them in your mod to make sure no faults happen to them. So, that's my big suggestion. Before you go putting your batteries in your mod, check them, make sure nothing's wrong with them. If there is something wrong with them, discard them in the trash, put new ones in your mod.
Yes.
And you shouldn't have any problems.
Now, I want to thank Shawn Hardesty for being a guest on my show to talk about that guy who killed himself while vaping, and that's the end of the show. Thank you for watching.